I will destroy you if I must.
Not if she gets you first.
Rebellions are built on hope.
And welcome to another episode of Radio Rebellion Star Wars podcast on a special day, special time. I am your host, Alberto Calderon, with us, our co-host, Oti, and special guest, hasn't been here in a long time, always love talking to her, Maggie Lovitt from Collider, Twitter, Millennial Reviews. She's everywhere. Some great interviews and articles out there with Leslie Headland these past couple of weeks. Maggie, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us today.
Good. I'm so happy to be back. It feels like it's been, was it since Mandalorian?
Oh my goodness, really?
I think it was in Andor.
Was it Andor?
Yes, Andor.
Yeah, the first three.
Thank you, Otto. Yeah, it was Andor. It's Mando's too far away, but who knows? It's been a while, so I'm glad that you're here. Glad to talk about the Acolytes show we've all been waiting for 4 years. It's come and gone, and we'll have a lot to talk about today of the Season 1, hopefully Season 1 finale. I think we're all three on that, at least on that boat, right, Oti? We want a second season?
I desperately want a second season, yes.
Excellent.
Yeah. All right, so let's hurry up. But before, just some housekeeping things. If you're watching us live for the first time, thanks for joining us. Make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any new episodes when they drop, usually on Saturday, but sometimes we do different days, like we interviewed Tessa Grattan a couple of Wednesdays ago, which was very fun. Like this video, comment down below if you're watching later on the audio, on the recap. And if you're listening to the audio podcast, thank you. Give us a rating, reviews, 5 stars, all that fun stuff. And also, I won't be able to be there. I think Maggie's going to be there this Saturday. Our friends, like I mentioned last week, our friends from the Geeky Waffle are doing an Equality Now fundraiser, Acolytes for Equality. They have a live stream this Saturday from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. And just as a reminder, Equality Now believes in creating a just world for women and girls. The international network of lawyers, activists, and supporters have tackled the most difficult issues, challenged ingrained cultural assumptions, and called out inequality wherever they see it. Like I mentioned, I have a raffle of a lot of cool stuff. So just a couple of stuff that's out there. High Republic Phase 1 Star Wars Celebration box set signed by the authors. Star Wars Be More Obi-Wan, signed by author Kelly Knox. From a Certain Point of View, Return of the Jedi, signed by Adam Lance Garia. Ahsoka series Pop Funko set, Osha poster art, Boba Fett set, Boba Fett Funko, Pulse of Han Solo in Carbonite, Enamel Pin, Bat Bash Squad Funko Pops. A lot of great stuff out there. So check that out this Saturday between 7 and 10 p.m., right, Maggie?
That is correct. And we have so much more really cool stuff that we have at the raffle as well. So it's very much worth the incentive that you should be incentivized to donate just because, too.
I just want to mention I won't be able to be there, but thank you to Candace for reaching out because Alberto told me nothing about it.
Jesus Christ. I'm sorry, Oti. I didn't know I have to run everything by you.
I was like, make sure Odie knows just in case he's around, too.
I'm sorry.
I'll be on a plane.
He's doing somewhere fun.
No, it's related.
Going back Puerto Rico. It's my daughter's birthday, so it's hard to say, I won't have my regular show. I'm just going to drop on a different show. I might show up just a couple of minutes just to say hi on the chat or whatever. But check that out. Link down below. You can see it, scroll it, and in the description of the video, you can go to the GoFundMe page, get more information on it. And, of course, the Geeky Waffle YouTube channel for the actual fundraiser on Saturday. All right. Oti, who's out there in the chat? As I get things ready.
In the chat, we have Alan Ching sneaking in like Plaguies. Spoilers!
Hey, Alan. How you doing, Alan? You were sick a couple of days ago. Hopefully he's doing fine.
He's doing better. Brennan's in the chat. Hello there, Brennan. And Dale is in the chat. Hello there, Dale.
Hello, Dale. Hello to everyone. All right, so if you guys are ready, I'm not ready. Let's talk Star Wars and Star Wars on TV.
Star Wars on TV.
All right, so Season 1 of The Acolyte has come and gone. The finale just dropped a couple of days ago. We're happy that we get to talk about it. Don't have to wait till Saturday. So much stuff out there that let's just jump into it. Like I mentioned before at the beginning, and then actually before we started, Maggie had some great conversations with Leslie Headland these past couple of weeks. I haven't been able to read the last one that just dropped a couple of hours ago. So I want to go fresh to our discussion today. I know those interviews give a lot out there. I don't want to get influenced. But Maggie, at the same time, first I want to get just your general thoughts about being able to talk to Leslie Headland after those episodes. And if we say anything that's actually confirmed or denied or whatever from that talk that you had with her after the finale, just let us know and correct us.
It's been so much fun to get to unpack the episodes with her. I wish we had done it the entire season. I thought it halfway through, basically. She is like a true Star Wars nerd.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it feels like talking to people from like Star Wars Twitter. Like, we're all so like in deep with it, and
Sure.
it's been such a joy to talk with her and like hear like a lot of confirmation to like the way that I've read some of the scenes, the way that, you know, a lot of Twitter has read a lot of how the scenes play out, and like hearing the confirmation that there was a lot of like intentionality behind the decisions that were being made and the parallels that were being made. And something that like for me has been really fun is hearing her like outside influences, hearing about like the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon influences, the Dracula influence, like the Gothic, you know, romance style like influences has been like really fun for me, because I love when Star Wars plays with other stories and draws like influence from other things, because that's something that George Lucas was very like notoriously known for doing, not only pulling from like real world things, but also pulling from like other stories and kind of bleeding into that like the visual narrative that all of cinema kind of shares. And like that's really fun for me. But it's been great. I think that I've done postmortems with a showrunner and then getting to do the postmortems here has just been like the most fun, getting to like really dive into a show that like means so much to me and I love so much. It's been a joy.
Yeah, I think that calling them post-mortem is just a perfect way, because after every episode, especially these last three, we're all like, we need some time to recuperate. A lot has happened. So let's just drop right there. And for people out there, if they've been listening to our Acolyte recaps, we won't go scene by scene. We'll talk about the whole episode, just probably not in order. But this one probably is the most in order we'll talk about. I gotta start with Osha and Qimir in the cave. We'll get to Plagueis, who everyone knows. 99.9% is Plagueis. We all know he's there. Just that scene where, because we picked up right where episode 6 dropped, left us kind of with Osha trying on the helmet that I want and got sold out before I could get it. But what effect it has some effect on her. She's having trouble breathing. Maybe she's claustrophobic. Qimir goes to help. He gets possessed the same way that we've seen some of the Jedi get possessed. And then we also see him kind of, not just with the black eyes, but his memories or something. The same thing we saw with Torvin when Modan Isaiah kind of got in there. Oti, I'll start with you. Just this scene, was Plagueis maybe manipulating something there? Is Plagueis just a creep hiding?
You like a good reach. No, I think
always.
It's pretty clear what's happening. That's like for me at least, it's like the Force rushing into Osha. I go back to that line in Empire Strikes Back when Yoda's telling Luke like it's the same thing. It's only different in your mind, and the sensory deprivation for Osha is like that moment where like everything that's blocking her from the Force is gone, and I think. She's of course very powerful, so that rush maybe just she can't control what she's doing, and she further I don't want to say the word, whatever. She gets in his head.
It's I can't remember. It was a conversation I had a while, probably like episode 3 or 4. Someone else, maybe Mae or Osha's the one kind of connecting. Every time she had those visions of little Mae running up the stairs, maybe that's just her kind of in the back of her head, or someone's playing with it. But Maggie, again, just watching that scene, you had that same sense that it's finally she's been kind of free from everything was blocking her from the Force. Qimir kind of explained that in the episode 6, this helmet blocks everything, it's just you and the Force. Is it that just her kind of finally freeing herself from what was holding her back for 16 years, I guess?
Yeah, that was the exact same impression that I got. And I like that it shows essentially like her connection with the Force is still very much like the way, or I guess it's the thread, technically, if you're talking about, you know, who raised her and the community that she was raised in. The fact that it so neatly ties her back to her family and the way that they commune with that entity that is either known as the Force or the thread. So I really like that through line between like that very tangible connection between her and her mother and how they view the Force. I thought that was great. I thought that was such a great connection. And I love that we get the full circle of she thinks it's Mae that she's seeing having this experience and the vision that she sees, but she's seeing her own future. And I think it's just like chef's kiss.
I guess for someone that hasn't been open to the Force for so long, it's going to be difficult for it to figure out what's going on in terms of, oh, I'm seeing a vision on like Qimir, oh, that's, you're not seeing the present, you see the future, something's going to happen. And also, I think, Maggie, something we've talked about before in those conversations where Osha and Qimir are kind of at the same level in terms of respect. It's not he's the master, she's the apprentice. And here, he has no control over it, right? She's like so powerful, it can be so powerful that they're at that same level. He tries to help her. He's being pushed back, having trouble to remove her helmet. And how concerned he is with her, which, again, is not what we usually see with the Sith or dark side users. And it's something that some people love seeing that. Other people are like, oh, if you're evil, if you're a Sith, you're always going to be in conflict. It's good to see something different from that side of the Force, I guess.
And I have to say, what I think is so neat with the show is that it is a show about the villains. It's about the bad guys. So we have to remind ourselves that like the way we're viewing them, like nobody who's a villain sees themselves as a villain. They're the hero of their own story. And so that does also like paint kind of a shade to everything that we're getting, because the Sith are probably have like love and compassion and like care for the others that commune with the Force the way that they do, and the Jedi are the enemy. So I think that's like the fact that the show has very much like flipped all of that on its head, and we're seeing that the Jedi as being the bad guys, and it's just so cool. I think it's like you said, different. We're seeing things like from a very different point of view, from a certain point of view, one might say.
On that thread, I think out of any Star Wars thing we've ever gotten, this is the show that has this is the best thing that has ever portrayed the from a certain point of view thing. Like how we started with Master Soul being like he is Qui-Gon, and being like, oh my god, this guy needs a therapist like right now.
We all wanted him to be our father, right? We're Father Soul, we are that. But I'm glad that you mentioned, Maggie, that this is a story from the Sith or from the dark side's point of view. It's something I was going to bring up later. Some of the issues I had with the show is something that I had reading Inquisitor, Rise of the Red Blade, because that book was very anti-Jedi, if you want to call it that. And I'm pro-Jedi. I'll defend them. I know they do bad things. That's why I love the High Republic. But took me a while till I kind of when this book is called Inquisitor. It's from the point of view of a Jedi that's disillusioned with the Order. Of course, it's gonna paint Iskara Kar, a great character. We're gonna see from her point of view how everything that Jedi are doing are wrong. This doesn't mean that in general the Jedi are evil or they're the bad guys, but from this person's point of view, they are, which makes sense. And then if this story is from Osha's, Mae, and Qimir's point of view, which of course it is, then it makes sense that they see what those 4 Jedi did and some others. That's maybe not the best thing. So it's there. We just have to change our mindset of what we're watching. This is not a regular Star Wars show when, like you mentioned, Otis Soul is going to be the lead. He's the lead, but just on the flip side, which we're not used to. So some people didn't like it. You just got to...
Exactly. That was something that I thought was so entertaining to read into the discourse Wednesday. I think it was like Wednesday morning when I was reading through like some people's tweets, and I saw a lot of people being like, I don't know how to feel about this show now that it's like the season's ended, because like the good guys lost. And I was like, no, the good guys won, because the good guys in the show are the dark side. And it's just making you view Star Wars from a completely different point of view. And it's just like, that to me is so exciting, because it's something we haven't seen done yet. And it's being done in such like a very inventive way. And it is making people like look at the Jedi differently. And it's like, sure, the Jedi are not like inherently evil, but there are things that go wrong, and like they influence people to fall to the dark side just because there's like these differences and opinions and stuff. And like so much storytelling potential, which, like you said, the High Republic has been all about this, and like seeing the flaws in the Jedi and seeing how they lead to like their own end, and it's just so exciting.
I just thought of something that I think makes the season more tragic. In the High Republic books, the Jedis are flawed, but I think they are definitely like way more on their prime than here.
Oh yeah,
and the ending of this season, it's a dark ending in a way. But if we did not know what's next, it could be like a positive. Like this could be a wake-up call for the Jedi. Like, hey, our arrogance is pushing us in this direction, but we know it's gonna get worse, so they're not gonna course correct. So like thinking about it in that, it's not a good ending.
It's a very nihilistic way to look at things. Just to work the Nihil in there.
Come on, Rey, you're our only hope now.
Yeah. But I love, even for the people that are like, no, they ruined the Jedi. Now the Jedi are the bad guys. And this. There was a great interview, I believe it was Kristen Baver that did in StarWars.com that came out yesterday or something. There's a paragraph that says, everything that happened on the Acolyte doesn't change the events from Phantom Menace, doesn't change Anakin falling to the dark side, doesn't change Darth Vader, the destruction of the Death Star. All those things happen. We're just seeing how one mistake over and over can then lead to a bigger issue by the time we get to the Jedi Phantom Menace, which is 100% correct. And even though I had some issue with some character decisions, that kind of calms me. It's like, that's right. Like, even if you hated this show, everything else is the same. Chill out.
I'm gonna get pulling on that thread.
The thread.
I get very frustrated with the people saying, "Oh, this definitely establishes this." I think the conversation is so much more complex and so much more interesting than being Jedi good, Jedi bad. Like, and just closing off yourself to having that conversation and seeing the different points of view of what's, because I think the show is inviting exactly that, just for us to have that conversation. Very similar to The Last Jedi. I think The Last Jedi has a way more definitive ending of, no, the Jedi are worth preserving. Here it's a little bit more up on the end, but it's because it's from the Sith perspective. So I'm getting a little bit grumpy at even if it's like on what I think about the show, like closing it, like, come on, like let's talk about it.
It's so fascinating to me too, because we're 100 years out from the Phantom Menace, and everything in the show has like so perfectly, to me, like met up with where I kind of imagined the Jedi being before that, when I was like 6 years old and being first introduced to the Jedi. And I'm seeing that like Qui-Gon Jinn was a very different kind of Jedi. He had ideas that were kind of outside of what was clearly the norm. And then like moving into Attack of the Clones, like seeing how they fail Anakin like time and time again. And like there's so many little things that then like now go back and like fit in with what the Acolyte is doing, and this very clear like erosion within the Jedi that there are like, and Dara was like very clearly trying to like do the right thing, but still at the end of the day, she still was like, we have to hide this because, what we're going to do? We've got an 8-year-old to join the Jedi, but we need to because we killed her family. So it's like those little things that just, I don't know. I like it.
It's like every time a stray dog, or not a stray dog, a dog that ran away crosses through my house and we grab it to find if it has a collar or a chip, or of course it doesn't. And then my kid, we have a new dog. No, I gotta find its owner. But there's so many choices and consequences after that. And for Indara, which, like you mentioned, is trying to do the best thing, but at the end it's, we gotta preserve the order, which we know the order is not the most important thing. But at this time for the Jedi, of course it is. And just kind of keeping going. Someone that was having that kind of conversation, what's good, what's wrong. It's Osha and Qimir still, when they're leaving the cave, he's still, hey, last chance, if you want to join me. And she's like, I don't want anything to do with you, right? I got to go save my sister. She's going to kill Saul, who she still believes in. So she's not buying into Qimir's kind of pitch, even though he saw him naked. We have all that great scene before. And he's like, oh, well, Mae didn't hesitate. She kind of very quickly, so it still gives the audience, okay, maybe Osha won't turn evil, which again, by the end, we'll get to that. And then Oti, I know you thought of me when you saw that little creepy hand come out, and obviously a moon, so I'm pointing to the screen. My wife and daughter are looking at me like, what's wrong with you? That's Darth Plaguies. Who? Don't worry about it.
Have they not watched Revenge of the Sith?
They have.
Yeah. Or maybe it's just a very creepy moon that has nothing to do with Darth Plagueis.
It's Darth Plagueis.
She said,
We got it.
thanks, Leslie. Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on that.
So let's talk right now. Whatever our thoughts are, what was he doing there? Is he at this point Qimir's master and kind of checking in on him? Like, what is this guy doing, finding a pupil to then bring me down? Or was it something like you mentioned last week, Oti, that maybe the real Sith out there feel that something's going on with the Force and, hey, let me check what's going on in this planet and run into them as they were heading out?
I mean, did Leslie give you the answer, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you'll have to read.
I'll put a link to the
I read the previous one, though.
I think she is leaving the door open for that storytelling in season 2. That's obviously like something you don't want to like give a definitive answer on now, because you want people to come back for season 2 to like see where that connection is. But I think something that she did kind of mention in the interview is that we know what happens with Plagueis. We know with Plagueis. We know what happens with Palpatine. We know like where things are headed. So like, where does all of this fit into that? And that's kind of like where the door has been left open for season 2 to get into that, or even future seasons. Fingers crossed. And so that's kind of what we got in the interview.
So the reason I like that little curveball, because even though we know where it's going, we don't know how the pieces are gonna fall. Exactly. So I was like, then wait, so Qimir isn't a Sith? Like, is he just like an edgy kid on a tantrum still and trying to find his way? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he read some interesting books that he's like, oh, maybe I'd be onto this. And Plagueis like, nah, I'm the only Sith. Like, who the hell are you?
I mean, he never said I'm a Sith. He said Jedi like you might call me a Sith. And then, of course, if he was a Jedi, he has understanding. Yeah. That's one thing that I don't get with people complaining, oh, now so-and-so know about the Sith. The Jedi know about the Sith. There's a freaking library that they can go check, and it has the whole history of the Sith war against the Jedi, so they know about the Sith, not that they're back. So, of course, Qimir can say, yeah, you might consider me a Sith because I'm a fallen Jedi, whatever you want. And hopefully season 2 answers that. For me, it was just cool to see it. It's like something I've been championing. And even if it doesn't connect 100% to what my idea was of Plagueis manipulating things from the background, it's cool to see him. Because then there's more stories to tell. Like, yeah, now it's, if you want to say in canon, in this time period, and now if there's a season 2, there's a book, if there's a different show, 10 years from now, they do something else, 50 years before the Phantom Menace, perfect. We have the introduction there. That weird planet we still don't know.
And I have to say, that's one thing that is like really frustrating me with people being like, oh, this changes this changes that. I'm like, none of you guys complained about like Dave Filoni basically completely obliterating like multiple book canons to change things for Ahsoka. So like, chill. Like, from a certain point of view, I think that is the smartest thing Star Wars has ever introduced, is the fact that everything is true from a certain point of view.
Yeah.
I know this is a sensitive topic because you are a Legends child, Maggie, but like you were already upset about Legends being blown up, and like and not you specifically, but everyone who was upset. What did you think that meant? They were gonna take things and apply it to how they wanted it, to the content that they had.
Cortosis. I mean, obviously, I know it has been canonized in the current canon. It is in comics. I think it was in Afra. It was in one of the episodes of Clone Wars, like maybe mentioned briefly. Like, it's out there. It's in canon. But I think bringing it in like a very real way, from very much what like Legends introduced to us as Cortosis, was like such a smart readaptation of those EU elements. Like, chill, it's gonna be fine. I promise you. And I've just so much hate over the Cortosis thing that I'm still just like, I'm just gonna bring that up in every single podcast.
It's just a metal. Like, come on. And I always say, like, at the end of the day, it's all make-believe. So if you don't like it, read the book. They republished it. You can read it.
It is fake, and it is in space.
Exactly.
It is. I know that a lot of us have spent a whole life with Star Wars, but at the same time, it's not that important. It's a movie. It's a TV show. I know it's affect us some very personal way. Keep those memories. That doesn't change. It's still fake and in space. And we just saw a lightsaber being bled. come on, it's freaking cool. We'll get to that in a second. But Saul and Mae, they're still on the ship. Saul said he was gonna let her go. He didn't let her go. And like, Saul, just take the cuff out. Why didn't you take Pip from her? You know she's gonna use it. You're not the brightest one, although we still love you.
Skilled fighter though.
Yeah, oh, great fighter. I mean, Lee Young Jae, whole series killed it, acting wise in this last episode also. He's trying to confess to Mae, but still holding back and always trying to justify. Even we talked last week, Oti, how Qimir was justifying some of the things he did, like murdering all those Jedi to Osha. So he's still trying to justify to Mae what happened. Mae obviously know that he killed their mother. He's still trying, oh no, because I was trying to do what's best for you guys. My biggest regret was not being able to save you both, which I'm like, okay, things are going to be good. And then, well, the virgins, but why does it always goes back to the virgins? Forget about the virgins and worry about the kids. And then she just zaps them and steals the ship or the escape pod. Looks like he's going to shoot her down. I'm like, why are you going to shoot her down? We're just talking.
Thank you, Basil.
Basil, like, Basil's gotta be going crazy. Like, I'm trying to help you. You're trying to shoot her down. No one understands me. What's going on?
I truly felt so bad for that adorable little beaver.
Basil trying to fight Mae 25 minutes ago, and now he's having to save her. Doesn't know what's going on.
I think he knows Soul is out of control, and that's why. Because I saw people like, why was he trying to turn off the ship? And it's like, because Soul's a maniac.
I know. I have to say, when I saw all of that, I was like, hey guys, media literacy. Did you see that he was like getting ready to shoot down Mae's ship? And like, I think Basil was like, hey, I should save this guy. I feel like so much of both the previous episode and this episode were people trying to save Soul from himself.
Yeah.
Like, Indara spent so much of episode 7, like, trying to essentially like prevent him from like self-destructing. Like, I don't think that she actually ever contacted the Jedi Order. I think she was just like, hey, by the way, they said no. And I think you should stop. Like, that was like my impression of it. And then it's like, here we have Basil being like, hey, what are you doing? Like, let's not do that. I need to stop this.
Even in episode 6, when Soul stuns Mae, Basil has a shocked look on his face, like, I don't know what's going on.
Are you guys not the good guys? Maybe Basil will go to the dark side too.
Yeah, I mean,
he's Basil a Sith beaver.
He's the first Ren.
He looked dope with a thick dark armor, like, and leather jacket.
Darth Basil.
Darth Basil. It'll be great. I mean, we got Darth Pip almost with the red eyes.
It's giving Darth Jar Jar Binks.
Now Basil is did more to go to the dark side.
Yeah.
But just visually, that scene, that chase through the asteroid field, through the asteroid rings, extremely cool, especially when Soul ship is coming down on it. You can see how massive it is. Reminded me of the Phantom Menace of the pod race when Sebul was right there behind Anakin. They crash into Brendok. Although you were kind of saying that was the planet, the rings planet, where
it wasn't
almost. And then we'll go to Brendok in a second, but bringing the politics into it and the Senate, we get a cool scene between Vernestra and Senator Rayencourt. Yeah, Rayencourt. It came to my attention, running a murder investigation. They run it by the Senate. Oh, it's nothing. Just 6 Jedi are dead. Really? And that's nothing? She's like, yeah,
she's like, the victims, and he's like, the victims, plural.
yeah, we got under control. Just like 6 of our best Jedi are dead. Some kids, but that's fine. And then he goes, of course, into you're running a system of unchecked powers. When you're looking up to heroes, you don't have to look at what's right in front of you. I think we need to have this subcommittee. I love, and then of course at the end when we get that kind of subcommittee with the Senate, that we're getting now closer to the Phantom Menace, a prequel, and how the Jedi are kind of not subversive to the Senate, but have to answer to the Senate, or at least bring things to the Senate before acting, which goes to everything, of course, happened when freaking Palpatine comes in. So I'm glad that we get that. And if we get a season 2, I hope we get more with the Senate. Go ahead, Oti.
It's also like this thing, like they do this to keep the Jedi in check, but that further corrupts the Order, and that further pushes the Republic to its end. So many mistakes. I do like that moment when he tells her the whole like you're controlling what's uncontrollable.
Oh.
I think she knows he's right because she's seen it happen. She's seen it with Imri. She's seen it with Elsar. She's seen it with Qimir probably. So she really can't refute it. She's like, yeah.
No.
I love also how she's like, "Are you done? Get the hell out! Don't keep throwing things in my." Let me open the door for you in my weird room with red chairs.
I loved that scene so much. I love David Harwood so much. I've been a huge fan of his since he was Friar Tuck on Robin Hood, BBC's Robin Hood in like 2007. I think he brings such a gravitas to that performance that it just I don't know, that whole scene stood out to me. The not being able to like look them in the faces line really stood out to me. He to me felt like an audience surrogate because I've already had like complicated feelings about the Jedi like leading up to this point. So like everything has just been like confirmation bias basically with the series. But I think that he served like a really interesting point narratively for audiences that have been slowly reaching this point, that maybe this is the first time, if they haven't read the High Republic, if they haven't really engaged deeply with Star Wars media where the Jedi are flawed, that this was maybe their first real introduction in this show to the Jedi being a flawed institution. And then you have this character that is like saying the things that you've probably been thinking for the last couple of weeks. And you finally get like the catharsis, like, oh, maybe I should be looking at this differently. Like maybe the senator, who knew senators can make good points. But like it's so interesting. I think that like the way that it is kind of deployed in this episode and the through line of what happens at the end of the episode like just works so well. And it does, like to your point, like start to get us closer to the Phantom Menace. Like I love politics and like the politics stuff and like all of the prequels like really hits for me. So like the fact that we got that here where we haven't necessarily like, yes, Andor has a lot of the politics stuff, but it has nothing to do with the Jedi. That's all like tactical. That's all like political intrigue, the spy stuff. And like, this is a very different style of politics that meshes so well with like George's vision with the prequels and what he brought in there. And that's what I think I really liked about this particular scene. It was like the highlight of the entire episode was for me.
It's so funny it took 25 years to go from really politics in Star Wars and taxation roots to now us being, give us more politics. I want more politics.
No, like Star Wars has always been political.
Yeah.
It's the whole Senate, the whole Republic, like it's a whole thing. Yeah.
Oti, I know a lot of, or some people out there online have been saying that maybe this Senator Raincourt, it's a puppet of a...
No, don't start. Don't start. No.
I'm having a conversation. Okay.
I'm not
Maggie,
engaging with that.
Don't engage. Is he just an actual senator that's concerned about the Jedi's
like we didn't talk about it in the interview.
Power?
Like that was the impression I got from the character. I felt like he was just a senator.
Yeah.
I think unfortunately sometimes senators make good points and they're not just being puppeted by evil people in the shadows, especially since it's not like he's wrong. He's not wrong at all. We've seen that the Jedi hide things and that the Jedi twist the narrative, and they'll go so far as to using a poor girl with amnesia to serve as their like own confirmation bias and like pawn for a scheme to blame a guilty man, but not guilty for all of the things that he's being blamed for. So it's like he's not wrong. And I think that's another really interesting thing is like making people go like, oh man, this political guy is not wrong.
When I watch the episode, because this scene happens before we get Plaguies, so I'm like, there's something with this guy. This is Star Wars. He's maybe some different Sith Lord out there, some different dark side user. And then when Plagueis showed up, I was like, okay, he's just a senator. And that's fine because we need to get to that point in Star Wars, in the Phantom Menace and the prequels. And it's better when it's Palpatine, the actual senator that kind of takes over. Not every senator needs to be the same kind of.
Maybe Plagueis donated to his super PAC or something like that.
Which is something through his Higo the Mask, his through self, he does kind of do political things.
I've never read the book, so I have no idea.
I mean, it's a great book. It's not canon. It's legends, and it can fit real well, and they can change it completely, which is fine. But if you want to say that in 20 years,
I mean,
say, that's...
Read it. I own it, but no, I haven't read it.
It might be sometimes he says, the Senate is already looking into the Jedi. Let me see what I can do to help speed things along. Otti, before we move, I see a couple of comments in the chat.
Is
There's
this Plagueis card the mask?
Higo the mask, I think it is.
Higo the mask. Okay, thank you.
Oh, there you go.
There's a lot of. Have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis a mask? Cortosis talk. I don't know.
That's fine.
That's from like 10 minutes ago.
So we get to Brendok. What's his name? Sol had called Vernestra and the Jedi. They're on their way. They took the long way around because it took them a while to get there. I mean, they got there quick. Just parking the ship took them a little bit. But we get a cool scene with Osha and Mae back in their childhood room, still going at it. Mae trying to convince Osha that she's been lied to, that Sol's not the great guy that she thinks he is, and Osha still like, no, he saved me. You're the one that burned our house. Everything happens because of you. I didn't become a Jedi because I couldn't kind of control my anger. Never learned to calm my negative emotions toward her, and then she kind of throws it into the reason you were never able to control those emotions because he failed. He's the reason you have those negative emotions. And then, as siblings do once in a while, they just try to get their difference out through a good old-fashioned fist fight. Which again, cool scene. And Maggie just seeing Mae still trying to reach Osha, and Osha still kind of believing, like we were at the first couple of episodes, that Sol is infallible, where you're like screaming at the screen, no, she's telling you the truth, listen.
Well, I feel so bad for Osha because like she's still so in deep with believing that the Jedi are like inherently good and that Sol would never lie to her. And I think that like the fallout of that comes in that next scene is just like such a beautiful like tragedy. Like it's so poignant. And I love how we see Qimir and Sol fighting, and then we have Osha and Mae fighting. It's very much like the entire time we've been seeing like the two different sides of the story, essentially, the way that these characters have kind of been like used to be parallels to each other. And I love specifically that like the cross transition between the lightsabers clashing and the arms clashing. I love that transition in that fight. It was just like, it was so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I have two brothers. I'm the youngest one. So unfortunately, no way they didn't get into fights I would lose because they're both older and bigger than me. But it's great to see that they still have that conversation. And even though myself, which are in the Jedi side, is trying to at least hear her out because she has some things that you need to hear and then make your own decisions. With even if I didn't, by the end of the episode, I didn't kind of agree with her decisions, it's finally her making her own choices. We'll get to that at the end. Okay, from there we jump, like Maggie said, to a great fight scene between Qimir and Sol. It's like finally round 3, I guess at this point. They're both done. I'm gonna destroy you if I have to. And like you mentioned,
not very Jedi.
Not very Jedi. Great homage to Hidden Dragon. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Great scene, a little bridge, and then of course falling down. I'm not falling down, just kind of gliding down. Just like I said, I'm easy to please. Give me a great lightsaber fight, and that was it. Like that was a great lightsaber fight right there.
Yep. I really like that fight. I think it's one of the best we've seen since the Acquisition.
Yes.
Was that?
I said yes, right?
There's just so many cool things to it. Like that moment when Qimir throws the sabers and Sol turns off his and throws them with the like. What am I
thought he was gonna cut him in half right there. Like, what the hell is going on?
And I really like that part when they lock sabers and Sol's like pushing it to him, and you see the Cortosis like freaking out.
And the slow motion and like, oh my gosh, there's so many like the lightsabers breaking.
3 kicks.
The kicks. Throwing like Qimir across. Oh my god, it's like I think I said it in my review, or maybe I said it lastly. I can't remember. But it was like the show kept being like, oh my god, this is the best fight ever. Oh my god, this is the best fight ever. Yeah. Oh my god, this is the best fight ever. And then I was like, no, this is actually the best fight ever. Like this is the best.
Yeah.
action in this series.
I love in episode 5 because it's just so chaotic, all the fighting and so many Jedi and everyone going against Qimir. But there's something about just one-on-one fighting because there's more personal. Like I love Duel of the Fates, and I love Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan against Darth Maul. But when it's Darth Maul against Obi-Wan, there's something personal there. Of course, someone just got murdered, but it's more personal. It's more just you and me, and we're gonna duel it out. And this felt like it's like Qimir. We know he hates Saul. He wants to show it to Mae and Osha what he did. And from, I guess, Saul's point of view, it's not just you killed my friends, but you took over Mae. You're trying to take over Osha. I need to save them, which is his whole thing. I gotta keep them safe. So it's a very personal fight for both of them, and just visually. And I'm glad that it was in the daylight. We were able to see everything. People can complain that it was too dark. And some great moves. And then when Saul goes with the Obi-Wan versus Maul kind of slash, I'm like, oh no, he killed Qimir because the lightsaber is broken. He's dead. No, he's not. Here comes Mae, grabs the lightsaber. And then we have another confession also when Osha comes in. Oti, I'll start with you when Saul is kind of finally, for the 5th time, I guess, trying to confess the truth. He's still struggling. He's always, I was trying to do the best for you guys. You guys were in trouble. Then, but you killed my mother, right? You killed our mother. And when he finally confesses it, and then Osha kind of, really, is that true? And then, oh, I had to prove the virgins. And if I didn't take both of you, then they wouldn't believe me. It's like, oh, who cares? Where is this virgin so important? And again, you had the blood samples. Use that.
And it's even worse because we saw the episode. That's not what happened. You freaked out and you stabbed her. You weren't. It wasn't a grand master plan with some moral flaws in it. And I think that's like the tragedy in him because it was 1,000% a mistake that I think he regretted like the instant it happened. But he lived with it so long that he started to justify it in his head and find reasons why he actually did it rather than I screwed up. And yeah, Osha probably would have never forgiven him, even if he was straight up with her, but he made it just so much worse. And in a sense, her fault is on him because maybe he would have never forgiven him, but she maybe wouldn't have fallen to the dark side. And here, like, he was supposedly helping her. I love that line from Mae, like, you could never get over your thoughts because the person helping you was the reason you had those thoughts. And
I know that line was so good.
Yeah. By the way, just super dumb thing. You know, I like Star Wars when it's very simple. I love that Osha's wearing black and now Mae is wearing white. Like, yeah, very simple visual cues, but I dig it. And by the way, when Mae threw the lightsaber, I was about to stand up and start clapping. Like, this is Star Wars.
Poor Saul. I mean, not poor Saul, but again, trying to, like you said, justify what he says. Oh, if I told them the truth, they would have taken you away. And then again, just it's not for him to decide, which is something he was never able to. Like I think you said last week, or he still hasn't learned that lesson. It's like 16 years, and he's still harking on the same thing.
I'll cling to the poor Soul because I think he's a guy who's desperately trying to do the right thing, but is not aware enough to know when you're starting to do the wrong thing in the quest to do the right thing. And it's like very similar to Qimir. Qimir wants freedom, but freedom to do what, Qimir? Like, what do you want to do? And for Soul, it's like you want to do good and do the light side, but how does that look like to you?
I have to say, no, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I have to say, like, I do also ascribe to like the poor Soul thing. Like, I do have a lot of very complicated feelings to him, and I do think that he's like not a good character because of like the things that he's done. But he is, if you view the Jedi as an institution, which is like akin to a cult, like he is a victim to the mindsets that he has been indoctrinated with since he was a child. Like his entire being has been shaped around this idea that like you have to be this perfect Jedi. It's the being perfectly in control of your emotions. And I think what's so interesting with like what we saw last week is so much of this seems derived from Indara making that glib comment about like, that's why you don't have a Padawan. And then everything kind of descends into chaos. And I think that might have shaken some of the structures that like he was given by the Jedi, because like, oh, maybe I'm not a good master because I don't have a Padawan. And then it just so happens he encounters two like magically conceived girls that have this incredible power. And it comes across in like a very icky way, but like you also have to look at it in the way of like, this would prove himself as being a good Jedi because he can be the master to a Padawan who has this like incredible power, and he's bringing something new to the Jedi Order, and he's finding something for them to like maybe find greater meaning in the Force, because he's found this virgins and he is the one that's now like helping her to like use her powers. And like there's so much stuff there, like the layers to why he went crazy still kind of goes back to the Jedi and the way that they kind of twist from childhood to give like all of this like power and purpose and meaning to people who have no control over their emotions. And so I think that is such like, I want so badly for like a book that's focused just on soul, that we get to see some of this introspection, to see if he ever did. I don't ever think many of these Jedi will ever like deconstruct, but like if he ever had these thoughts, if they was ever like being like pushed to like put them aside, like there's just so much story there that is compelling to me, because that's the kind of stories that like I gravitate towards, the kind of stories I've hungered for. We see stuff like that in the High Republic so much, like I want those stories so badly.
As you were kind of talking about why he didn't have a Padawan, I was thinking, prequel novel of Soul as a Jedi Knight being moved to a master, and then because there's a reason in there saying that's the reason you don't have a Padawan. It's not because of one little incident he told Torvin something. There's something behind it.
Exactly.
Give us more.
What
Even if the High Republic, Phase 3 ends, there's still stories in the High Republic. Give me that one. Give me Saul and Indara going through the ranks, ending going to Brendok or whatever.
But I always thought that the High Republic books were gonna bridge that gap. I'm starting to think that maybe not. But I need to know what happened between Yoda going to Elsa and being like, "Hey, you want to bang Avar? Go ahead. It's good for you." And them being here like, "We have no emotions. We're stoic freaking monks."
I need to know if they're the reason.
I'm thinking maybe.
What happened
like,
between those
absolutely
two? No attachments of any kind. Bell, get rid of Ember. Like nothing.
Yoda was like, no. I was way too lax. You guys are freaks.
Just running around, their robes open down the temple hallways. Like, dude, Yoda, what did you?
Oh my god! Yoda saw one too many walks of shame and was like, "Now we're good."
You know the reason the Jedi would take the robe up before they go lightsaber fighting? It started there. They just, oh well, here we go.
The Elsar. It's called
the Elsar. That's what it's called. All right, someone that didn't go that far, but was also fighting with her emotions and new information was Osha, when she starts learning the truth or hearing the truth. And I guess from her point of view, okay, everything that Mae has been telling me since I found out she was alive was the truth. Stop talking. What you're saying, you killed my mother. And then she goes full on dark, force choke, I guess killing a Jedi without a weapon. I guess we forgot you can force choke someone. And then she's touching that little kyber crystal, which starts turning red. Oti, when you saw that kyber crystal turning red, how freaked out did you get? Or did you maybe didn't even notice?
No, I noticed. Like the minute we got a shot of the kyber crystal, like, okay, that's here on purpose. Like they want us to see something. I will say going to the turn, that's the thing I got hung up with.
Okay.
I don't mind Osha turning to the dark side. I just thought that having the reveal on why she could never commit as a Jedi in this episode, for me, for Oti, it was way too much to feed it like in 5 minutes. Like we learned this and then immediately she's turning to the dark side. For her it makes sense because it's all these overwhelming emotions coming to her and maybe she not being able to control them. Like maybe like in 10 days she'll think about it and she's like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have killed Soul. So that was like maybe the heat of the moment, whatever. So I kind of felt it would have been nice to know that like the thing that was blocking her from being a Jedi a little bit ahead of time, maybe a couple episodes ago, just to start bridging that gap, because I it kind of felt abrupt to me. Like
Okay.
all of a sudden, like here you go.
Yeah, we'll talk about that and a couple other motivations for Osha and
But
Mae
the
in a
scene was
couple-
cool. Like
Oh, that scene was
definitely.
great. And when the lightsaber goes from blue to red, when she's about to then
Hey,
kill.
as someone who had the Anakin toy that you could turn it from blue to red, I was over the moon.
Again, I know people complain, oh, this show costs hundreds of millions of dollars, blah, blah, blah. The visuals were great. At least for me, the visuals of the show were great. And seeing a lightsaber, even if you want to talk about how lightsaber works, I don't care. This is fun Star Wars fantasy stuff. Seeing that visual, first of the kyber crystal bleeding, which we know what it means, first gets your geek kind of, oh, yeah, we're going there. And to actually see the lightsaber go from blue to red, no one there really, everyone in shock of what the hell is happening, was a great visual. I kind of agree with her turn, and we'll talk about that. Not her, yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. But Maggie, for you, that scene of Osha finally confronting Saul, going to that place again, she's been repressing those emotions, so that reality for so long, finally hearing the truth. Because even in episode 5, she's like, what did the stranger meant by hiding your darkness or something? So she's already had something in the back of her head for a little bit, getting exposed to that helmet and getting all that rush of the force back. What were your feelings just from Osha going from learning the truth to then killing Saul, and he kind of accepting, I guess, similar to Torvin, like, yeah, I deserve this? What were your thoughts going through that scene?
I think, having talked to Leslie about it, and like it's in the interview that I dropped today, like talking about like the betrayal of the father, like that was something that like resonated very strongly with me, because Saul has been kind of like positioned to be like a father figure in Osha's life, and like having that ultimate betrayal and all of those factors I think worked really well for me. And I also, there was something that like really stuck out to me in the fact that he accepts his fate essentially, because again, like something about, and maybe it's like the femininity of it and like the feelings that like as a woman, like I've experienced these kinds of things, like the idea that like you have a man that is like kind of controlled your entire existence. He has shaped the narrative around everything that you have come to know since you were 8 years old. Like you've been lied to like this entire time. And then even when you're making this like active decision to like remove him from your life, he's still accepting it and like taking away like that action from you, because he's like, yes, I deserve to die. And it's like, no, I want you to like have a stronger reaction to this. Like, I am doing this thing, like I am making this conscious decision, and still he's like making that decision for her. And I think that again is like another one of these like really interesting like ideas that could be played with and like maybe tugged on like in future like stories and things like that. Because like that to me is like really compelling, and I love that we got the bleeding of the lightsaber, and I love like the fact that it is not just the bleeding of a lightsaber, but it is his lightsaber. She has now claimed his lightsaber, the thing that killed her mother, that then set all of her life to this very moment. Like this is the weapon that like destroyed everything in her life, is now something that she is wielding, that she is like reclaiming as her own. And I think there's like something really powerful in that imagery. And I think it's something that we haven't necessarily ever seen before in this way. Obviously we've seen the bleeding of kyber crystals, but in such different ways. This is such a visceral, real, like violent act. And I think that just really worked for me.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I, as a man, I can talk to it and say,
I know it's such a complicated thing to be like, it's just like something that some people feel, and I don't know.
yeah, but it's great to also, again, that's why I love having you and also and other people here that have different views of what we see. I've always said I love Star Wars because we all come to it from a different point of view. Haha. So
we all get something different out of it.
yeah,
so
exactly. And that's why it's gonna keep going forever. And I think you're the second person I read someone else on Twitter kind of say something similar. And like, okay, I understand that point. And also goes when you said that Saul kind of took that away from her by accepting it. On the other side, Mae is saying, I won't kill you. I'm taking you to council. You're going to confess. You're going to face the consequences, which is that the inverse to that, which is what she wanted to do. Be a Jedi. So we say, Saul commits a crime. I got to go to the council. Talk to the council first before you commit the crime. Maybe learn that, but too late now.
I love how the sisters completely switched.
Yeah.
You start off this journey with May he's the last on her hit list. And in the end.
By the way, when the choking starts, there's a cut to Chimir's face. He has this face like, nope, that's not me.
My hands are here.
That's what else I love about the scene too, and everything about the way that Leslie has crafted the stranger is that like he's impressed with her. He's not intimidated by her. He's not trying to control. It's a very clear like difference between like how Soul has shaped her life and how this like new figure in her life could potentially like play around with like where her future could head. And I love that he's just like, yep, that's for you to do. I'm just gonna stand here and watch, being like, cool. She's doing the thing that her sister couldn't do.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's the other reason why I don't think he's a Sith, because the Sith usually find an apprentice they can exploit. I think he's admiring her and saying like, I can get something out of her, but like to make me better, not to like let me abuse her, then she'll become powerful. Like I don't think it's that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So talking about character motivations, here's where I kind of had a couple of issues with a few things, but again, just talking through it, you kind of get better with. So I don't have an issue with this. This is Qimir switching between Mae and Osha, like who's going to be his spirit. It's like when Mae takes Soul's lightsaber. Oh yeah, you got him. Now kill him, and your training will be complete. Oh, you're not gonna do it? Okay, Osha, you're back with me. It's like,
okay, maybe he is a Sith then, because that's a very Palpatine thing. Like, oh, I was believing you.
Yeah. So yes, that thing is when Mae tells Soul, "No, I want you to confess to the council," but then doesn't stop Osha for killing Soul, and also we get Osha kind of doesn't want to join Qimir, where after they leave and go to the Bunta tree, which I guess you're right, Otto. I think that has to be the Virgins, because that's again where the kind of Brendok part ends.
Maybe
she still doesn't want to join Qimir at that point. She said, "We'll go to the Jedi or to the council." I can't remember what she said. We'll tell them what Soul did, but then Mae's like, "Oh, and then you'll suffer the same fate as our mother." So it's kind of, you killed Soul, but you want to go to the council. But then you want to go with, as long as Mae is okay, you'll go with Qimir. So that kind of back and forth threw me off a little bit. But I can live with it. I don't hate it.
I think for me, my rationale for why Mae didn't stop Osha was kind of maybe confirmed with the scene at the tree, because she doesn't want to hold her back from what like the choices she's making. And I think there's some regret there for Mae, and the fact that she has a small part in everything that went wrong on Brendok, because she was trying to keep her sister from leaving, trying to keep her from fulfilling her own destiny. And I think maybe with time, she's been like, maybe I shouldn't be interfering with what my sister is trying to do, even if it is like morally wrong, and like I'm feeling a different way. Like she's still her own person. And I think there's some really interesting thematic things that have been played with throughout the show that maybe points to like some of these ideas as well, because like we're getting this idea that they're not twins, they're not sisters, they're the same person. Then you have Soul, who sees them as very interchangeable, even though he's like drawn specifically towards Osha, but he like, it takes a while for him to realize that that's Mae on a ship. Like all of these little things. And then you have Qimir, who as soon as Osha walks into the shop in Olega, he's like, you look just like her. Like he instantly clocks that it's not Mae. He makes these very clear, like, oh, your sister would have done this. You're different. You're like, the way that you do all of this is different. I think maybe it all like leads to this idea of them being the same, but also having different like identities and having to like kind of reckon with their roles in each other's lives. It's like being the same half of like the singular coin.
Yeah.
And I do wonder, like, if we were able to have like longer seasons and longer episodes, if like some of these motivations would have had time to like really maturate on screen, where we're not necessarily getting that as clearly. There's a lot of inference that has to be done, but I don't know, that was just me.
And after like reading other people's comments and other people's comments, Osha finally getting to decide for herself what she wants to do. So Mae doesn't want to interfere. Like, this is her choice. I'm not gonna. So even though I don't agree with it as a viewer, and I try to find these holes, you can also find a reason for it. So I can, again, didn't like it, but there's a reason to it. Oti, any other kind of character motivations or anything you want to add?
No, I think I'm fine where everything ultimately ended, and like the decisions made sense. I just thought that the presentation was just a little bit clunky for me, at least. So I can super get over it. Like, I'm not gonna throw a tantrum.
All right, Maggie, as a resident shipper out there,
Yes.
sorry to. So when Osha is making this deal with Qimir, if you let May go, I'll train with you. She sticks her hand out. I'm like, they never shake hand in Star Wars. She hands her the lightsaber. I'm like, oh, that's something. And then of course it leads the end.
The little thumb touch.
Yeah, the little thumb touch. And then again, the way it was directed and filmed, that little, because they're gonna shake hands. No, it's like you said, a very soft kind of exchange of the lightsaber, a little hand touch or finger touch that then goes to the ending of those two back on their planet overlooking the sunset. And Qimir reaches out to hold her hand, which still has the lightsaber. Just tell me what's going through your mind seeing this.
I thought so many things. I love how Hanel Culpepper directed this episode. I think it was like just beautifully handled, and like the way that there is such like a quiet intimacy between them that you don't have to have anything overt. Like you're still picking up what's being put down. And I love hands. I love hand touches. That was like The Last Jedi for me. The fact that we have this like hand touch moment in the hut on Octu was like such a monumental thing for me. And I also really love the visuals because like this is something that is very clearly drawing some inspiration from Reylo. There's very clear parallels between so many things, between both like the entire sequel trilogy, even the stuff that I don't like, and this. They're like very clear parallels, and obviously like Star Wars, it's like poetry, it rhymes, yada yada. But something I really like with the lightsaber being included so much in these moments and the taking of the hand and all of these things is it plays off of these moments in Reylo that I love, where, you know, like join me, the offered hand that Rey doesn't take, I would have taken her hand. It's offering, like those kind of things. But then you also have that moment in The Last Jedi where they're struggling over the lightsaber and you have their hands outreach and the lightsabers between them. But here you have the lightsaber between them and it's a unified force. And I love that. I love that imagery so much. And I'm also, see, I haven't had a chance to like fully talk about this stuff in like a non-interview fashion. So that now I feel like much more of a dweeb. But like, I have, and I did say this in my interview, and it is in the final transcript, but like, I have never actually seen a movie or a television show that fulfills like one of my wish fulfillments as being an ETL girl. Like, yeah, all of these things, people are always redeemed. Like, oh yeah, we have to redeem the bad guys so they're both on the good side. No, I want shows that are like, we can actually make each other worse. And that's what I'm getting here. And like, I will be eating good until season 2. The fanfic girlies are out there in force writing so many great things. Like I can't wait for us to do like a geeky waffle like after dark to like really get into things. But like it's like wish fulfillment. This is everything. And like there's a joke that I say in my interview, like after the Rise of Skywalker, the way that they walked back the kiss as being like a kiss of gratitude.
Yeah.
And I was more depressed than I've ever been in like into my entire life with the way that was being handled. The fact that like this is being treated like seriously and we're not being treated like we're jokes and like nobody is walking back what we're picking up is beautiful. Because Star Wars has always been about romance. Han and Leia are like the OTP of like science fiction, fantasy stuff. Like they have to come up in every conversation you have. Even Padme and Anakin, despite how tragic it is, like their love theme is hailed as one of like the greatest pieces of music to ever be composed in cinema. And it's like that's such a vital part of Star Wars. But then you have like the sequel trilogy that like kind of stripped that completely from it. Even like The Mandalorian, there is no romance. There's no intimacy.
Almost. Yeah.
I mean, still, we know.
No. And season 1, where that episode 5.
Qimir, and we had that like little bit of a thing going on. But like even then, like they're so afraid of it. And so have this show that is like unabashedly unafraid to play with those themes that have always been part of Star Wars. That is very much the part of the High Republic. Means so much to me as a shipper. Like I will not step off of my apple box, my soapbox.
Oti, anything to follow up that?
No, I with Osha and Qimir, I felt the same way I felt with Kylo and Rey in the sense that I liked it, but I was like, oh no, you deserve better.
You
Like,
deserve better.
get away from that bad boy. So I was happy to see it
Let me get
fulfilled.
away from that bad girl. I'll have you know.
Yeah.
By the way, I just found out about the kiss of gratitude. Like, was
It was
this like
the
a
whole thing.
who said
In
this?
the novelization, it says,
I
it
never
was a
read it.
kiss of gratitude.
Okay, whatever. Sure.
Yeah, and I love Ray Carson. That is not a knock
Yeah.
to her. I know that that's like the party line that was being pushed as like a reaction to like the
Mhm.
bad vibes that that movie created. But yeah, that just made me want to walk into traffic because you never kiss somebody on the mouth to say thank
No.
you.
They made out. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know what it said.
like that was a
Yeah,
No creepy
so-
Sith behind any cave at that point.
No, but
Do whatever they
I
want.
honestly liked how it ended because it's different. It's something we haven't seen in live action Star Wars before. So like, I'm in for it. Let's see
And
where it
that-
goes.
And that final scene with them holding hands, looking out, is such a perfect parallel to one of my least favorite scenes in The Rise of Skywalker, where Rey is alone on Tatooine. Yes, she is with BB-8. I know she's not alone. That is not her droid. They are like colleagues at best that maybe talk around the water cooler like once a day. They're not friends. And she is like all alone. And it's like, and that to me like really hurt because like we start with her being alone on a desert planet and she still ends alone on a desert planet. Like the visuals, like, yes, she has friends within the rebellion. Yes. But the visuals of it, the fact that it does not change the fact that she started out as isolated is fixed here because we have a lonely girl who starts out alone, that she's like friendly with colleagues on her ship where she's working as a mech, but that she ends up with somebody who is an equal to her. Chef's kiss. That's all I wanted. That fixed it, healed wounds that are 5 years old at this point.
You can move on now.
I feel like I can finally move on. I'm like, I have something else to hyperfixate on now. I can like not talk about the atrocity anymore.
I mean, again, even though I don't follow all the ships and all that, it brings us so many possibilities for the future, that season 2 or whatever, of those two and what can happen with them. So it's gonna hopefully get a season 2. We'll get to that in a minute. Real quick, I just want to highlight from a certain point as Q, just pop in for a moment to say hi. Big fan of Maggie's article this season. Alan saying love someone that makes them worse. And even though we talked about that, I just want to say hi to Hanso Dosta for joining us again this week. We talked about Qimir and Plaguies at the beginning. Check that out if you get a chance. Go up there. All right, so we start wrapping up. I'm not forgetting. Let's talk about Vernestra. So we have Vernestra, and we'll get to what she did with Sol. It's so interesting, because we kind of assumed that Qimir was Vernestra's Padawan. It's basically confirmed at this point. As soon as he touches ground, he's like, "Oh, you!" And Qimir is like, "Oh crap!
Oh shit!
She found me." Puts the helmet on, skedaddles out of there. It's like, "Oh crap! What? I want to know. Give me season 2 just for that. I want to know what the hell went on with those two." And then, of course, unfortunately, she blames Sol as this rogue Jedi. Everything his fault when she goes to the council. And even talking with Mae, it's like, yeah, friend of mine, he did a bad thing. We're trying to fix it. Maybe you can help us find someone that we're looking for. Although just that first scene with Qimir kind of sensing Vern, and then Vern throwing Sol under the bus to save the Jedi Council or the institution, I guess.
I really like that moment when she like for Assassin's Creed fans, she like eagle visions the area and like finds Qimir.
That was cool.
And him being like, "Oh crap!" That was very fun. Very interested to see how that's gonna play out.
Mm-hmm.
However that story is presented, whenever it's presented. I was kind of conflicted with how that part ended. I know it's not that, but I kind of felt like the show wanted to have its cake and eat it too with the messaging on the Jedi. Like, yeah, the Jedi are good guys, but maybe not. Again, the conversation is way more complex than just this or that. I did appreciate, however, that with Mae, she was like straightforward. And she was like, no, we failed you.
Yeah.
And at least with her, she's being honest. So yeah, she's the girl with amnesia that probably can't do anything about it. That's fine, but at least it's there.
Maggie surprised that Sol was the fall pin or whatever you want to call it to everything that happened. And I'll let you answer in a minute Real life, this happened to me. No one was murdered when I
It's like,
was around.
yeah.
Yeah,
What did you
that's
do,
a
Alberto?
yeah. I can go there. There's people listening. No, but I remember I was like in 10th or 11th grade. We had a test. I think it was English test. I was ready for it, but someone found the answer for the test a couple of classes before. So a bunch of people kind of got around and got the answers ready. Somehow that teacher found out. So before she handed out the test, she started calling people. Hey, I know that you guys found the answers. These people, this. And she got whoever was the first person, because for some reason he took that test to a different classroom and started writing it. And I think that's how she found out. Point is, that guy started, oh, who was with you? Who else has the answer? Starts blaming people. And then this one names someone else and someone else. Then we get to the guy next to me. He names me. No, he was on the other side. He names me, a friend of mine that I've known for years. Didn't talk to him for 2 years after that. Something silly. Anyway, he called me, and since I was a straight A student, everyone's like shocked. And I was talking, even that teacher doesn't know what's going on. So I took that time to go to the guy next to me. What was that? and say, hey, they already got you. I'm not gonna keep blaming people. I'm just gonna say I was with you. So basically throwing him under the bus just to save everyone else. I know it's not the same thing, but I understand someone we try to do the best thing. We try to save other people, save the council, and just blame someone. So I kind of understand from that point. Anyway, so
What grade were you in?
I think it was either 10th or 11th grade. I can't
So
remember.
like in the 60s?
Yeah, motherfucker. Just because I turned 44 2 days ago. That was 1996. How old were you in 1996?
I was 3.
Oh. Oh my. Thank you for joining us in this senior edition. But anyway, Maggie just saw me. Always when the geeky waffle people are here, I get.
Oh, you're so mean. I'm so sorry. But isn't it great to have bits that like follow for years in the Star Wars?
Yes.
But yes, Soul. I don't think I was surprised. I don't think I was necessarily like blindsided by it, because it seemed like she was starting to form a plan when they went to Brendok and found all of the Jedi dead. And the way that it was very clever of her. She was letting, I'm blanking on what
Mog.
is it? Mog, yes. She was kind of carefully navigating him towards making the kind of suggestion that a Jedi had to have done this, which I thought was really tactically smart. Like that is the Vernestra that we know. Like she is a fairly good tactician. Like she's very smart. She's very clever. She sees how to like make things work in her favor. So the through line of that moment to this was not that much of a surprise. And I know that people have had strong reactions to this, particularly within the High Republic fandom. And I have to say that I think this is very much in character for
Right? As someone who I have had trouble reconciling Vernestra with the show. For me, after this episode, I'm like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, because you have to think that, and we have watched her grow up and experience horrible things, which have only confirmed like her need to uphold the Jedi, because she has seen the evil out there, what horrible things can happen to the people that she cares about within the Jedi Order. And she even says that like she cares deeply about Soul. Like this was somebody that was her friend, that she cared about, who was ultimately a good person, but like bad things happen and he snapped. And I think it's interesting that she kind of uses that out that Rancor gives her in that conversation of like, all of these things are going to build up and somebody's going to snap. And she uses that again in her favor to craft the lie to show that there isn't a further sickness. It's so much easier to pin everything on one guy who killed everybody because he was afraid that the truth was going to come out, and then he killed himself. Like that's such an easy lie to cover up. Hey, my former like Padawan is out there and he's a Sith user and bad things could be happening and I have no control over that. So it seems very much in character with like who Vernestra is, that she would try to control the controllable because there's so much out there that she can't control, but this is something that she can. And she's been kind of moved into this position where she's kind of like a girl boss. It feels like it's reducing who she is as a character, but like she is like in control, and she's got like a cheeky intern that's like, hey, I let you next meeting before I should have.
Mog.
I know, right? Like
Mog.
He's like an intern. So it feels to me like very in line with the Vernestra we have known for 4 years now. I guess 3.5 technically, but yeah.
Right. So I'll be the one. I still don't see it. It makes sense for.
Okay, Maggie. So
there he goes. Now he finds the button.
Not the great purple hair anymore.
That's
is it
again.
The head? I think it's less. I think she lost the hair from the
lost in the stress. I mean, dealing with Elsewhere Man now without Stellan will bring that out. And again, I always said it's still 100 years between where we are now in the High Republic to where we find her. So who knows? I go to in Defy the Storm when she goes to Stellan. Sorry, spoilers out there. And she said, hey, you need to confess to the council what happened on Starlight Beacon. I'm not going to do it for you. You need to be the one to come clean, to then be the one hiding stuff. But again, it's her Padawan that's gone rogue, so I understand a little bit. I still kind of, maybe if this was a different character, I wouldn't have that problem. But there's a lot of stories still to tell before we get to this point in the High Republic, which makes me afraid, like you said, like she's seen a lot of stuff. What else is she gonna see between where we are now to the ending? So we'll see.
The last thing I want to say is like I think the Jedi's biggest problem here is not. I don't think they're evil. I don't think they're like at the end of the day they're still the good guys, but they have their heads so far up their own, and that arrogance of we've always been on the right side of things, and not being able to tell when you're no longer on the right side of things. And every time you look for counsel, it's people in the same, I'm sorry for the expression, in the same circle jerk being like, yeah, no, this is what we do. We're Jedi. We're always on the right side. I think that's their biggest issue. And Vernestra has been in that institution for over 100 years. So I don't find it impossible for her to not realize in the cycle she's in.
Yeah. And I think it goes to what Maggie said, like Rayencourt gave her that out a couple of days before. Like, oh, this might happen. Oh, look, it happened. You're right. Especially as he starts pushing this independent council and independent review of the Jedi. It's like, yeah. No. It's just one rogue Jedi. It's not us. Don't look over there. Don't come over here. Again, maybe I don't want to see her in that point because I like her so much. But again, that little scene with the Senate and a new chancellor. Sorry, I didn't write down his name. Again,
Chancellor
bringing
Beaver?
more. Damn, who Beaver?
No. Wasn't it the person in the middle?
Ick, or it was something with an ick on the end of it, I think.
Yeah.
I have it somewhere. Let me see.
Just ignore me. There was like a creature in the middle that I.
Yeah, it's all the way back. You're the head of the table. You're in charge.
Chancellor Beaver.
It was a very narrow table for all those people. I'll say that. You're too close. Just open it up a little bit.
Chancellor
Krellick. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, this is how I do my notes of the episode when it's live.
Let me see what's there. What can we?
Maggie's taking notes now, and I'm like, oh, blue lightsaber.
Like chaotic things. Well, it's when I'm watching the episode, when I do my recaps, like right after I watch it, I have to like take notes like I'm in class, and I do say hilarious things in them, but they are heavily redacted for reasons.
Someone that heavily redacts stuff is a little green creature at the end of this episode where Vernestra go, Master, like Yoda's gonna show up. Who else is gonna be? Pants down, little Yoda's almost bald head shows up. We need to talk about something.
Bro, we need to talk.
It's like, not again. Why
the nameless are back?
There's other council members. Yeah, they now are back. Is she talking about Qimir being out there? Is she talking about what's the truth about Soul? Will we ever find out? Does it matter? It's just, let's hide more stuff. Two green guys talking. What do you think, Maggie?
I think...
or whoever.
No, Maggie, go.
I don't know. I think that's something I liked about the way that was handled is like, where could this be going? Is this a direct through line to the conversation she just had with Mae about wanting to find this former pupil of hers? Yeah. Is this like, hey, we have problems? Like, because at the end of the day, like, is Vernestra going to own up to the fact that it's her pupil, or is she just going to frame it as like some mysterious dark side user is out there? Like, does she want to admit fault? She seems pretty perfect. I like the ambiguity of like, what could this be about?
Yeah.
Or could this be about like, hey, the Senate's going to start looking into our records, so it's time to
hide those
shred
documents
some
in your
things.
bathroom. Yeah.
I mean,
All
hey,
those
maybe this is, we're going to see the records that kind of are missing from the
yeah.
lives. Like, saying. You never know.
By the
Okay.
way, Roberto's saying it's impossible to follow the light, the Jedi, and be human at the same time. One can only do their best, and that's why I say they shouldn't be arrogant to think we're perfect and we're doing everything right. You should have the humility to admit when you made mistakes, and have the humility to seek counsel and not hide your errors.
Yeah.
I think Vernestra's going there to talk about Qimir. I think she's seeking guidance on that. She's probably going to tell him everything, but I think Qimir is the main purpose for
Cool.
visit.
Yeah, I think whatever happened with Saul, that's done and done. She kind of goes, oh, I'm speaking on behalf of the council, and this is what happened. I don't think then she's going to Yoda to kind of say what really happened. So that kind of brings an end to the Acolyte. Good show. Had some issues for me, but overall, I did enjoy it after waiting 4 years for this show since it was announced. I'm very happy with it. Season 2, not confirmed. We're hoping. All of us are hoping we get a season 2. Oti, any wish lists or things you would love to see in season 2?
I want to see more Qimir Unchained. Those
All right.
guns.
With those guns, I mean, a whole year to get buffed. So yeah, for me, it's more Qimir and Osha, see where that goes, how that relationship grows or falters. Can dark side users be together? Yeah, they're not safe. We'll see how that kind of works. And maybe they are, who knows? How Plagueis, if we go that far, what Plagueis' role is with either if he was part of Qimir's kind of training as a master, or if it's just a different, him and Tenebrous are hiding somewhere else. Hey, I found another dark side user. Let's deal with this. Vernon and Qimir Pass, I think, is one of my most kind of hype things. I want to know what's happened. Why is he so afraid of her? And then the Senate, like we mentioned before, the Jedi being hampered by the Senate. Give me more politics in Star Wars in this era and this time frame to what we then see in the prequel trilogy. Maggie, for you, if we get a chance, hopefully soon we will hear. See, yeah, season 2 has been approved. It's coming in 2026. What would we love to see?
It kills me that we don't know yet, because this show has technically done better with viewership than Andor did, and Andor immediately got a season 2 renewal. Yeah. Just like, I'm like, well, where is it? I need it. Like, are you waiting for D23? Are you waiting for Star Wars Celebration next year? Like, what are we waiting for here? I need to know what's going to happen next. But I think personally, obviously, I'm a shipper, so I do want more of Osha and Qimir. I want them to schmooch like they all did in the season finale of the show. There was a potential for that to have happened. I obviously want to see what's going on with Vernestra and Mae. I really like that Mae has no memory and she's in this very different position now to be influenced by the Jedi. I think that's a really interesting character choice there. And I want to see more of the Jedi being terrible. It's from the villain point of view, and that we're getting all of this, and I want to know why we got so much of the Kylo Ren theme throughout so much season. Like, I want the answer to that. And
there's so much still out there that hopefully we get to explore. How were the twins created? Will we get that answer? We'll find out.
Where is Mother Coral? Because she's no death.
Nobody, no death.
She did say that her species is a clue, right? So all roads lead to Dathomir.
She's in the other galaxy with Thrawn over there. I mean, with Ahsoka now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Divergences. We have all this stuff about dyads. I mean, would this lead us to world between worlds stuff? There's so much potential here.
Yeah.
Where's Basil from?
Freaking Basil. Did Basil tell Mog what happened on the ship, and that's why, you gotta put Saul under the bus. He tried to show her down. Basil's the clue.
Yeah.
All right, that brings an end to our Acolyte talk. I can't believe it. 8 episodes have
Came
come
and
and
went.
gone. It came and went. That's well.
I know. Now what do we have to wait for Skeleton Crew?
Whenever
my
that
God.
comes out.
Oh wait,
We'll see.
High Republic books are back in September.
Yeah, they'll most likely be big announcements next week for San Diego.
Oh right, they have the panel.
That's
I'm gonna pull my hair.
Don't do that on the show. All right, Oti, any final comments before we say goodbye to everyone?
Nothing Acolyte related specifically. I just want to say it's awesome to be discussing this episode with Maggie, because the first time I met Maggie, we were talking Rogue One, but I remember Light of the Jedi had just come out, and I showed it to Maggie. I was like, "Oh, I'm reading this." I just read it. It's great. So, and here we are talking about the show. So, awesome to have you, Maggie.
Thank you.
Okay, Maggie, great talk as always. I just want to. You're one of my favorite persons to get to talk to. We come from different point of views, and we same point of view so many times, but so respectful, and I learn so much when I have you guys here also. So thanks for being here. Everyone, please go to Collider, read all her interviews or her articles with Leslie Headland. I'll try to, after this, put a link.
It was 10,000 words.
It's too much.
Is there an audiobook for it?
Yeah, we need an audiobook for the audio. Maggie, where can people find you out there?
You can find me on Twitter at Maggie of the Town right here. And you can find me over on Instagram at Maggie Lovitt. Watch the space. Lots of stuff coming soon. And you can find me tomorrow or Saturday.
Yeah.
You know what date it is. Saturday during the Equality Now fundraiser.
Yeah.
Is hosting.
Yeah. That's the fundraiser for the Acolytes for Equality. Sorry, I forgot real quick. But thank you, Maggie, thank you, Oti, thank you to everyone that's in the chat. Let me see. Obviously, Subdude, thanks for being here. So sorry we didn't get to your comments. Roberto, I will own. Thanks for being here. Dale, Brennan, Alan from Certain Point of Skew, Hanso, everyone that made it to the chat. Thank you so much for being here. Maybe we won't have a show on Saturday, obviously, because we had the show today. Might take a break that Saturday afterwards, the 27th. So we'll come back in August if there's something to talk about. Oti and I will figure that out at some point. We'll take a little 2-week break, at least 2 weekends. But anyway, thank you, Maggie, again. Always a pleasure. Thank you, Oti. Thank you, everyone. I got nothing else. Stay safe. Be safe. Acolyte Season 2, please, soon. See you later.